October 1st, 1903, the hatchet was finally buried. It was on this day in Cincinnati that the powers of both the National and American League began the process of coexisting harmoniously, ending 2 years of bitter fighting. On this day, the first game of a 9-game series would be played. The two teams playing were the Boston Americans of the American League and the Pittsburgh Pirates of the National League. This game would mark the first modern World Series. Although this was the first World Series, baseball has been around much longer. The first recorded official baseball game was on June 19, 1846. The teams playing this game were the New York Knickerbockers and the New York Nine. On this day at Elysian Fields, baseball was born. The story behind baseball is unknown to most, but for those who do know how baseball has grown throughout the years, know how much everything has changed. I, for one, have played baseball ever since I was little, but I have never known the history behind the amazing sport. My goal for this speech was to inform myself, as well as others, about the history of baseball, along with how it spread throughout the world. Baseball originated from an English game called rounders. Rounders was played by numerous amounts of people. Kids would play rounders on playgrounds, as well as college athletes against other teams. Rounders was fairly popular in the 1830s and 40s. Then, in September of 1845, a group of New York City men founded the New York Knickerbocker Baseball Club. This team was called the New York Knickerbockers, and they were founded by Alexander Cartwright. Cartwright was one of the original developers of modern baseball. Cartwright helped write the rules for baseball, but he didn't come up with the name baseball. According to Dave Wilton from Word Origins, the origin of the word baseball is unknown. Although it can be traced back to letters in the 1740s, no one really knows who came up with the word baseball. Baseball continued to grow in the U.S. for the next 25 years, and in 1871, the National Association of Professional Baseball Players was established as the sport's first major league. According to History.com, 5 years later, in 1876, a Chicago businessman named William Hulbert formed the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs to replace the National Association. Hulbert believed that the National Association was mismanaged and corrupt. At this time, the National League had 8 original members: the Boston Red Stockings, the Chicago White Stockings, Cincinnati Red Stockings, Hartford Dark Blues, Louisville Grays, Mutual of New York, Philadelphia Athletics, and St. Louis Brown Stockings. In 1901, the National League's rival, the American League Professional Baseball Club, was formed. From the beginning of the National League to the founding of the American League, many teams had either changed their names or dropped out of the National League. Over the years, more and more teams joined each division. In 1969, the league split into the East and West divisions, and in 1994, the Central Division was recognized. The final expansion of the MLB occurred in 1998, when one team was added to both leagues. Each league had 15 teams, but this would cause scheduling problems. To avoid this, the MLB decided to move one team from the American League to the National League, giving the National League 16 teams and the American League 14 teams. Milwaukee Brewers agreed to transfer. As baseball grew in the United States through the 20th century, baseball became a popular sport in other parts of the world as well. In 1904, the first ever international baseball event, a series of exhibition games, was held during the Olympics in St. Louis, Missouri. The exhibition proved so successful that it was given an encore at the 1912 Summer Olympic Games in Stockholm, Sweden. After St. Louis and Stockholm, baseball grew in popularity around the world, and the sport was placed into the program as an exhibition sport at the 1936 Summer Olympic Games. This exhibition was extremely well received, as 92,565 spectators filled the Olympic Stadium in Berlin to watch the game between the two American teams. After Berlin, the first ever Baseball World Cup was organized. The growth of baseball in other countries, along with the birth of Baseball World Cup, provided the need for an institution to help develop, organize, regulate, and oversee these events. Thus, the International Baseball Federation was established in 1939. Conflicts of World War II forced the Summer Olympics to be canceled in 1940 and 1944. causing the spread of the IBAF to come to a brief halt. But in 1950, the IBAF was able to expand the format of the Baseball World Cup in Managua, Nicaragua, in 12 participating countries. Countries such as Cuba, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic have dominated the World Cup for the past 60 years. After the 2011 tournament, the Baseball World Cup was discontinued in favor of an expanded World Baseball Classic tournament, which consisted of 16 teams from 5 continents. According to Matt Snyder at CBS Sports, a total of 1,086,720 fans attended the 2017 tournament. It is truly amazing how much one sport can do. Baseball was born one day at Elysian Fields, in which only a few hundred people attended, and now today there are tournaments with over 1 million fans in attendance cheering on their teams. Without sports like baseball, events like this would be nearly impossible.